The Whitecaps are going to continue their Concacaf Champions Cup journey, guys, as they host Monterrey at BC Place. And the big question, we've been talking about this for a couple weeks. We wondered if we would even see him earlier in the competition, would be the infamous, or some would say famous, Sergio Ramos. The master of the dark arts is also what I like to call him. He scored his first goal for Monterrey on the weekend, 4-2 win over Santos Laguna. So, Jordo, do you expect to see the Spanish legend on the pitch?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that, first of all, if you haven't seen the goal, please go tune in because it's a Sergio Ramos goal to perfection. Just timing his run in the box and putting that big old melon on the ball. His celebration as well. It's weird seeing him wear 93. Anyways, I don't think he's playing this game. I think he's playing when they return to Mexico for sure. But I just don't see him making that trip up north and playing playing at BC Place. But it would be nice. It'd be nice for him to travel and maybe get on for a bit, but I don't know how Wheels feels. But I just don't see him starting or playing in this match.
How do you feel, Wheels?
Is it in his contract? His contract is a thing of beauty. He didn't travel to Mazatlan 2 weeks ago, so I'm not sure if traveling to British Columbia is on the docket as well. I also find it in my nerdy soccer way, the fact that he's wearing 93 because of his 93rd minute goal against Atletico Madrid. And guess what? Real Madrid plays Atletico Madrid this week in the Champions League. Meanwhile, he's playing Vancouver Whitecaps in the Concacaf Champions Cup. I love when things in the soccer world kind of play out that way. But if I'm a Whitecaps fan, seeing Sergio Ramos would be a bonus. It's not like going out and seeing like a Lionel Messi or someone like that because he's a center back, right? Like, he really got up for that header. You know what I mean? It's just something different. Like, I look, and I appreciate. I was a center back at one point in my career. Like that's, I respect the position, but I just don't think that that's the reason why people show up to watch. So Whitecaps fans, like their motivation to come out and support their team in this is that this is a competition that matters. Like really, this is why you go out and win back-to-back Canadian championships to go on and give yourself a chance to win a game like this against a top opponent. Monterrey is among the handful of best teams in this region. So it's a good litmus test to see where this Whitecaps team is. Are they that close? It was complete disrespect by Major League Soccer saying that they'd finish 14th in the Western Conference. Like that was absolute nonsense. But now go out and try to make a statement to the rest of this tournament that you're here, not just to make out the numbers, but you're there to compete and contend. So we'll see if they can do that.
Wheels, I agree he's not Messi, but he's a pretty big deal. Like seeing Sergio Ramos go and play and just saying that what he's won and the World Cups he's been to, like I know he's not an attacking player, but like he just has that bravado, that aura whenever you see him play. No
bonus.
Oh, he's flashy. He's flashy.
There's something about him.
It's a celebrity status thing too, right? Like Euro Cup winner, World Cup winner. You just want to see him, right? You just want to see him.
Champions League winner. Big player. He's a big one for our time.
Yes, sure. You want to see him. I'm not saying you don't want to see him. But
let's put it this way. If he doesn't play, then you're also still pretty happy as a Vancouver Whitecaps fan. I think, but he's flashy. How about this? Tony Bet has the Whitecaps as slight favorites to win tomorrow's match, plus 147. Given their form, and obviously, Wheels, you talking about, like, don't disrespect these guys. Do you expect them to not only win tomorrow's match, but to win this tie and actually advance in this tournament?
It's hard for me to say sitting here on a Tuesday. I'm not sure what type of team Jesper Sorensen's going to play. And in the last game last week against Saprissa, he decided not to start Veselinovic, Kubas, and Gauld as LA Galaxy were coming to town on the weekend. How seriously is he taking this competition? I think that's a reasonable question to ask. And if that's not the case, then Monterrey certainly are going to take this serious. We saw them against Forge, I know that they had rotated team in the first leg, but the conditions weren't great. I mean, the pitch was a little bit of a mess. So this trip up to Vancouver, I think Monterrey will take it seriously because over the course of this tournament, Monterrey takes this tournament very seriously. So I think it's going to be a near full-strength side for Monterrey. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. And I think that Vancouver need to take it seriously as well. So would I make the Whitecaps a slight favorite? Probably not. It'd be close in terms of the way that I would prognosticate this game, but the Whitecaps is a favorite. that might be a little bit of a reach.
Do I expect the Vancouver Whitecaps to make it out of this tie and beat Monterrey? I don't. And that is just when you look at two teams playing, Monterrey being the big giants in Mexico and in this competition, they should be the favorites to move on. I'm actually very surprised that Vancouver Whitecaps are the favorite in tomorrow's game as well. Like, looking at it, if I'm a Vancouver Whitecaps player, if I'm Jesper Sørensen in that locker room, a big part of tomorrow is maybe not to sit back, but like really just not concede. Like that away goal, even though for me it's a dumb rule and the fact that it's still in this tournament is a bit wild and outdated. However, that's what it is, right? So that does play into it. Jesper Sørensen has said to us, he said to many people, like he's still trying to adjust to this tournament and what it offers, right? Because you can't really, you have to kind of balance your team for both legs. You also have now your domestic competition going on, and you have to have the best players for that. So he's trying to figure things out. The big thing tomorrow for Vancouver Whitecaps is they can't really score. If they score one or two, it's over. Like to go to Mexico and try to go and beat them and score that many goals or the goals you need to win that tie is too much. But again, I just think Monterrey is a solid team. I think they're better than Vancouver Whitecaps. That doesn't mean, though, that Whitecaps can't go and win. But to say I expect Vancouver Whitecaps to beat them in this tie, I think that's a long stretch.
Okay. How about this? And I know it's a very small sample size, but Jordan, are you ready to say that the Whitecaps front office got it right hiring Jesper Sørensen, a guy with no MLS experience? He was very upfront when he came and you said, like, listen, I'm taking over a new team. Not only do I have to learn this new team, I got to learn a new league.
Yeah.
Right. So very open and honest about that. So you're kind of taking a chance on a guy here, but early goings, do you think they got it right? Early
goings, yeah, sure. But I would be remiss if I don't talk about the honeymoon stage that is apparent in everything, right? The first week with your significant other, violins are playing, everything's roses are flying. Yeah, I want to know what it's like when times get tough, when injuries are happening. What is that person like in the morning? I'm kind of flipping and flopping through all of that, but you get what I'm saying. It's like you have to see what he's like when the summer comes and you have three players injured, or what happens when Ryan Gauld or knock on wood or Brian White isn't healthy. What are you doing then? So I think in terms of how they want to play, you could see the identity forming. Crosses into the box have been exceptional. Brian White have been on the end of two of those already. So you can see them. You see how they want to play. But again, I think with this league, it's about who's fit, who are your stars, can you keep them ticking at the right time? And that is yet to be seen. But again, a good start from Jesper Sørensen.
Okay, I believe the phrase you're looking for, when poop hits the fan, how is he going to react? There you go. There you go. That's it. How are you feeling about it, Wheels?
Forget about the poop until he takes off his shirt and swings it over his
your boy Vanny.
head like this. It can't be sold. Like, look, it's been a decent start, but I mean, this is far too premature. I mean, they lost to Saprissa in the first game. They beat Portland Timbers, who are a bad team, who were playing a man down for over 80 minutes. Then they beat an LA Galaxy side who had 6 starters from their MLS Cup win over Red Bull just in the fall, who aren't part of the setup anymore. It was a completely new team. Like, their front line is being completely decimated. The only one that's around is Gabriel Peck. So it's a little bit of a rebuild, like Joveljic gone, Paintsill, Brugman, Delgado, like the list goes on and on. So, and they won that game at home 2-1. So I like what I've seen. I think that there's been some really good performances. I think Vite, the signs are that he's taken a step in the right direction, but I don't know how much that has to do with the player versus the manager. So this is going to take time to properly evaluate. So no, I'm nowhere close to, it was a little bit of an odd hire to begin with. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It could really work out, but just seemed a little bit of an awkward one. And yeah, I mean, so far so good, but there's a long way to go.
Yeah, fair enough. I think those assessments are all very fair. Gentlemen, it wasn't that long ago when we were talking about the Canadian men's national team and getting set for their camp here in March in the Nations League Final Four. We were debating what was going to happen with Alphonso Davies now that Sam Adekubi was healthy and he could play in that left back role. And where's Davies going to go? Well, it appears like that's in jeopardy again because Sam Adekubi had to leave Sunday's home opener with a quad injury at the Vancouver Whitecaps. And as of the taping of this show, there wasn't any other update except for the one that Jesper Sørensen gave, which wasn't really comforting in any way. Like, it didn't really give you much information. It's a quad injury, doesn't appear serious, but oh, by the way, we don't have a timeline for his return. Oh, okay. So obviously, what does this just mean for the player, Jordan? The amount, I can't even imagine emotionally, mentally, what he's going through with the last few years here with injury. What does this mean for the team, the Whitecaps? What does this mean once again when it comes to the Canadian national team?
Yeah, it's the psychology. Like I genuinely broke for him when he was coming off, and that for me, obviously injuries are part of the game, but the time of an injury is crucial. And I think the psychology of a player is huge. When you're feeling good, like he scored back to back. If you're looking at all the left backs, and again, this is a 30-team league, so am I diving into every single one? No. But do I think that is he definitely at one of the top left backs? Yes, for sure. And the way that even if you look at you're playing 2 games and you score 2 goals and you're just feeling good, and then you go out with an injury, and then of course this happens when you're however many days away from 2.5 weeks away from the biggest game up until now, right, for him. And you look at Adekubi as twofold with obviously Whitecaps. He wants to be playing week in and week out, and he knows that consistency. And he said in the offseason he's been working on his body. But if this happens after Nations League, it hurts. But it hurts dual because now, again, he's not ready. He probably won't be ready. He probably won't be considered and be healthy. And this is something where he wants to be back with his brothers. He wants to go and play. He wants to go and compete. He's not able to do it. So I truly feel for him. I think with the Whitecaps, obviously, depending how long the injury is, I know they could go on without him for a little bit. But again, I just feel for Adekubi and that situation. It's painful.
Man. Yeah, it is.
Problem is, though, since he's joined the Whitecaps, he's missed 30 games and counting already. Like, he's 30. I hate to blame turf, but is playing on turf the ideal surface for someone that's dealing with what he's dealing with right now? It just makes it a complicated situation. I hate seeing this over the course of careers, is that players, based upon their body or bad luck or whatever, just become unreliable. And unfortunately, it's not his fault, but it's almost like you got to plan outside of having that player regularly available. You can't lock it in. Yeah. Certain players, are going to be there to play like 95% of the games in a season, but it's got to a point just based upon him arriving in Vancouver. Before that, he was managed to stay fit. He was fine, but this is a new issue, and this is just the latest setback. And it just seems like this happens in players' careers where a player has one setback, and then it's kind of like a domino effect. And that's what seems to be playing out here. So now their backup plan, and I think that the Whitecaps have addressed this to a certain degree, but Eddie Ocampo, 21-year-old Colombian, comes in. Is he ready? I mean, people at the club can tell you better than I, but he's going to be forced into a situation where he's going to be relied upon heavily here. That's a much different story being an understudy, and Jordan's right, to one of the best fullbacks in all of Major League Soccer in Adekubi when he's fit. But now Ocampo needs to take that mantle and try to take full advantage of that. So we'll see. The Whitecaps were high on him when they brought him in, and we'll see if he's ready to go and compete. And if he is, then perhaps, to the detriment of one individual, provides opportunity for another. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
And everything needs to be explored. And you're right. Like when it comes to turf, especially with these types of lower body injuries between knee, calf, and now his quad. I mean, we asked these same questions when Max Crepeau decided to go to Portland after his leg break. And we're like, ooh, is turf necessarily going to be the easiest on your joints there and everything too? So, I mean, that's something you got to look at. And sometimes you have to personalize. Strength and conditioning coach has to personalize things to certain players because what you're doing with everyone else may not work for one guy. I mean, we saw that in Toronto when it came to Josie Altidore, all kinds of problems. All of a sudden they tailored a program just to him, flying high. 2017, then they go and they win it all because he was at his healthiest, right? So you have to really ask some questions to your point, like, why is this a new thing with Sam Adekubi?